Hello, everyone. This is Anu here. Thank you so much for tuning in. And this is the sixth episode of Talk with Anu. I'm so glad and happy to have started this show, especially in this year 2020 during the COVID lockdown period. I was able to connect with many people and get their insights on many different topics and share that with you all. So I am so much humbled to celebrate this episode, the year end episode, and especially during this Christmas time. Uh, Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and wishing you all a very happy 2021. Thank you so much again for all the support that you have given me. I have a very special guest with me today, Ramya Shivkumar. She's one of the board members of Green Cell ATL. I wanted to have this wonderful conversation with her, following her on social media and the good work that they do. I'd like to begin with a quote that says, "Treat Earth well. It was not given to you by your parents, it was lent to you by your children." Again, thank you so much, Ramya, for joining me here.
Yeah,
Welcome.
thank you. Thank you so much, Anu. It's wonderful being here. I've had the opportunity to listen to some of your older interviews, and they are pretty awesome and very inspiring. So I'm pretty humbled and very enthusiastic to be on your show
Awesome.
today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ramya. How have you been? And how is 2020 treated you?
I think 2020 has been an awesome year for me personally, a lot of growth, personal growth. I know there's just been unprecedented sort of pandemic and a lot of sad things happening to different people. But through this whole journey, this whole 2020, I've always been a little bit of a pessimistic person. Like I've always seen the glass as half empty. And so this year has really woken me up to sort of the abundance in my life, so to speak. Like I'm able to suddenly see that my glass is half full. I have a lot to be thankful for. And I think many people do as well. Like, I mean, many people, even given these bad circumstances, even these challenging circumstances, there's a lot still to be thankful for. And I think that's sort of been the highlight of my 2020, that I have finally experienced that abundance, finally feel happy about what I have in my life rather than focusing on what I don't have in my life.
Absolutely. That's a wonderful thought, being happy with what we have. So that's a great thing that you shared with us. So my first question here is, what is Green Cell ATL?
So I'd like to share this video. That video is so powerful, you know. It talks about how in that 3 seconds we have really impacted this whole earth um, with who we are. So this whole conversation about saving the polar bears, saving the earth, it's actually saving ourselves. It's about our survival,
Mhm.
whether we will get to that fourth second. So that video, is really why Green Cell is there today. So we are a passionate group of volunteers who are working for this nonprofit, and we want to create awareness about human induced environmental pollution.
Mhm.
And we work at the grassroots level, and we have our 3 A's, which is sort of awareness, action, and advocacy. So a lot of people just do awareness, but they don't follow it up with action. And then even if they follow it up with action, they don't spread the word. So that's the 3 A's that sort of complete our um, focus. And we work with organizations, communities, companies, to make green choices. So we help them through that process, because things are complicated. This whole choice of what is good and what is bad for us and for the environment is really a very gray area. There is no black and white. There are always pluses and minuses. So we help people weigh those options and provide, like feedback on what they can do to live a greener and more sustainable life. Um, we think that climate change is a very big issue that is really hard for adults to comprehend, forget children.
Mhm.
So, for example, like when a child goes and touches the fire, the child immediately knows that it's burning their hand, they withdraw the hand. So the cause and effect is immediate. But climate change is sort of a very long standing thing. Now imagine a movie called Contagion, right? I don't know if you've seen that movie,
Yes, yes, I've
right?
seen that. It's
If
almost
you
similar to what we are going through right now, I believe.
exactly, right? But imagine watching that movie 5 years ago. I remember watching this movie long time ago. And this is not going to happen. This is never, like, this is impossible. You think, you look at that movie and you think this is never going to happen.
Yeah,
And then you watch that movie this year and you're like, oh my goodness,
we can relate.
somebody you can actually relate. So that's exactly what climate change is. It's something that's going to happen or is happening at a very slow pace up to a certain point, and then it's going to accelerate and it's going to really have adverse effects. But I'm not sort of trying to understand what is happening today in my life, like how are my decisions impacting something that's going to happen 20 years down the line.
Mhm.
So that connection is what Green Cell is trying to do. It's trying to show, or create awareness about how your actions, however small, are going to impact something big that's going to happen or is happening in a remote place somewhere far away from your home, basically.
Very true. I mean, we've heard many people talking about climate change. Leaders are talking, actors are talking. It's such a broader perspective from looking through television, and we are not able to understand how we can contribute to climate change and good things that will happen to the earth. So, through organizations like you, we are able to at least do our part. So each and every individual, even we are able to do something that could actually benefit to this climate change. It's a broader perspective. Of course, as you mentioned, that's a good movie that you brought up, Contagion. I believe many of them would have watched the movie. So that's something similar that's happening in 2020 right now, and we have experienced that this whole year. Everybody's locked down. Did we ever expect this? We didn't expect this in the starting, or even last year. We didn't even think about this. So again, we are here. That's a good thing that you brought up. Thank you so much on that perspective. Um,
Yeah, sure.
where do I actually begin to go green? Because I want to contribute from my side, but I don't know where to begin. What's your perspective on this?
Trust me, Anu, you're not alone in this. There are so many people who are in the same boat. In fact, I was in the same boat as well. So, let me give you a little background about myself. So,
Sure.
I studied architecture and then I worked in Auroville in India for some time, where I worked for a French architect, and we built houses made of earth and very sustainable living sort of environment. And then I decided that was my calling, and I went on to do my master's in sustainable design. So I've been in the sustainability industry, right? So in the construction industry, in the green building industry. But even for me, I was like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Like, in the during the daytime, I'm here talking about efficiency, I'm talking about sustainability, climate change, all that. Come back home and I'm like business as usual, right? I'm like doing my own thing. I'm not any different from anybody else who knows what climate change is, or how it can impact your life and things like that.
Mhm.
So how to go green is really about a mindset, right? It's more like someone who wants to eat healthy, wants to exercise. It's a mindset. So I'll tell you a little story, and that'll sort of help you understand this concept a little more.
Sure.
So there was this traveler. He had traveled far and wide, and he came, and now he was thirsty. He had, it's been several days since he had water. So he comes to a village and he sees a bucket of water and he's really thrilled. Now he's going to drink the water, right? Suddenly he notices a notice board next to the water. It says, "Do not drink this water. Use this water to operate the pump next to the bucket. And as soon as you fill it with water, you can operate the pump. Fill the bucket first, and then go ahead and drink water or do whatever you want to do with it." Now the traveler is thinking, I just need one glass of water, right? Why should I go through this entire effort of pouring water into that pump, pumping it, filling the, what if there's no water after that? What if I don't get water to drink after that? So let me just take a glass of water for myself and, just go on with my journey. So he takes a glass of water and he goes on with his journey. Another traveler comes. He looks at the bottle of water, I mean, the bucket of water, and he looks at the notice and he says, I just need a glass of water. So he does the same thing. So it so this whole how do you go green is like changing your mindset, right? Where you think beyond yourself. We are very much used to this convenience lifestyle where now the convenience triumphs everything,
Mm-hmm.
and we are unable to see the effect. Everything has a cause and effect. So what is this convenience that we are getting right now? What is the repercussions of that? We are not seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's about switching your mindset. And as far as Green Cell is concerned, what we've done is we've created this level 1 and level 2 challenges. So the level 1 challenges, first of all, switch to reusables, whether it's a reusable bag when you go shopping, reusable water bottle, reusable containers. So stop using disposables, right? So that's what this is about. That's the first step that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just like dieting or just like exercising, you don't try to do everything like at one go. Like you sort of incrementally up your game, so to speak. So you do level 1, and then when you come to level 2, you go a little granular. You say, okay, I've taken reusable bags to the shopping for shopping. Let me take mesh bags, to go inside, or let me buy compostable trash bags, or for example, let me get steel utensils. Let me carry my own cutlery. So there are level 1 and level 2. It's on the Green Cell Facebook, Green Cell ATL Facebook page. You can see the level 1 and level 2 challenges.
Right.
But level 1, level 2 aside, really, you go through your day and you think about, how am I using the resources I have? Would you stand on the roof of your house and throw money?
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't. You would
Right.
be wise about how you spend your money. And that's exactly the mentality we need to use for our resources. So when you get up in the morning, you're brushing your teeth, turn the tap off when you're brushing your teeth. The tap doesn't need to run. You're showering, you shower 15 minutes, reduce that time to 8 minutes, then reduce it to 5 minutes. Don't have the water running when you're soaping yourself. So it's simple things like that. It's just about being mindful of your resources. It's about being careful with what you have. uh, your children want to draw on paper, request them to draw on both sides of the paper.
Wow.
you know don't draw just on one side.
Mm.
Use everything that you have. um, Try to you like, a lot of times I see parents drop their kids at the bus stop in a car. Can you walk to from your home to the school bus stop? So just little things like that. You can incremental changes that you make to your life that will have a huge impact.
I
um,
that just reminds me of a hilarious picture or meme I saw. There was the staircase by the left and the escalator on the right, and the escalator is kind of crowded. The staircase is totally empty. It's just the
Empty.
mindset, right? So
Yes.
people just have to switch to stay healthy. People.
Yes.
That's what people like you and the organizations are trying to get to people, to make them understand and do the right thing. But it's again a mindset. It starts from the individual. So these are something small
Yes.
that we can just contribute. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So it just starts with small things, right? You don't have to think about the big things. Start with the small things. Like we had the summer camp for the kids, and the whole summer camp was based on what can you do as a kid, right? You don't need to get this to your parents. Take 3-minute showers. That's what you can do.
Right.
Grow your own food. Actually, I have an example. I should ask my son to get it out. Maybe I can show you later. You
Sure.
don't have, it's not like you need a big garden, and you can do it in your house. Your kids can do it. So I think it's about starting small.
Very nice. So, talking about the plastic bag usage in India, they have managed to cut short on the plastic usage. And the last time I went, it was all paper bags everywhere. I think they've done it really well. So, this is what other countries and everybody globally have to start practicing. And I think we'll get there if everyone, every single individual and societies.
And what you say is true. It has to come from both. It has to come top down, bottom up, in the sense we
That,
have to use our power as a consumer, right?
yeah,
So when you say no to plastic bags in a shop, somebody is listening to you,
yeah.
because you are customer and you are the king. And so as a consumer, when you say I don't want plastic bags, that is a statement. You're exercising your power as a consumer. So I think doing that more and more, makes people think, hang on a second, why did she just refuse a plastic bag?
True.
Some people will ask you, why are
Yeah,
you refusing it? And then when you talk about it, that's the advocacy part. So you don't need to be part of Green Cell, you don't need to be part of any organization. You can do it on your own. Like,
starts from within. Of course, it starts
yes,
from within. And off late, I'm seeing in a lot of supermarkets, people are bringing their own bags from home, avoiding plastic bags usage. So that's a good thing. That's a good start. Somewhere there is
yes,
a start, and looking at them, other people get inspired. So
exactly,
come all
exactly.
together. That's awesome. So the next thing is this is the time for giving, especially during Christmas and on donations. Clothes, shoes, and what other items could busy people think of to donate?
So a big item that people don't think of is e-waste. We switch out phones so often, like every 2 3 years we get a new phone, we upgrade our phone. AT&T is giving a new phone just for another extra dollar. There you go, we upgraded it. We have a phone, we sometimes give it to children, or it's just lying around the house. So e-waste, there are several, like those Johns Creek and several other counties, or local cities are organizing these e-waste collections. You can watch them, watch out for them, and even Green Cell posts those things on our page. So that is something that you can give. We will erase all the data and everything that's on it, so you don't have to worry about that. So green e-waste is one thing that you can do. You can also you can also donate direct donations to organizations like Charity Water, for example. That's a wonderful organization that actually builds wells and provides access to water for people in third world countries. So that's a worthy donation to make. There's also something called charity recycling. So you see these bins, white bins outside schools.
Yeah.
Um, every pound of clothing donated there gives 10 cents to the school.
Wow.
um, so I've known, like, my son's school, Chattahoochee Elementary, in the past have almost gotten like $1,000 from these kind of donations, like the people putting in anything, the lost and found, shoes, belts, everything can go in there, even if they're torn and everything, you can put in there, and that gets weighed and they get the money for it. And while $1,000 to a lot of us may not be a lot of money, for a school it is a lot of money. It is the money that they can use towards an outdoor classroom or a worm farm, and offer their students outdoor learning experiences. So it is significant money. So I think that's one of or you can give a tree. So there's you know you can have donation towards a tree. That there are many organizations that you can do. So
That's
those are
wonderful.
the simple donations that you can make.
That's something people can start with, or if they've already been donating clothes. I think Goodwill is something, it's a common name in everybody's house. People just go to Goodwill and donate clothes, and this is the time for giving. So it's
Yes,
to share the joy.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's a good thing. The next thing is we did talk about plastic use, reducing plastic usage nationwide and globally. How can we bring in how can we reduce plastic usage at home and office, especially? And also, now that we have smart homes, all of us, so how can we save energy? We talked about saving water. Is there anything else that we can save with respect to energy terms?
Absolutely. So, as far as, let me tackle energy first, because that's sort of my area, and it's I can quickly come up with something for you. So, energy, it's really like the age old, like my parents growing up, they always said, switch off the light when you leave the room. And it was always about conserving those resources. And I used to get annoyed when my parents said that at that point in time, but now I do the same for my children too, because it's switch off. You don't need that right now, turn it off. You don't need to have it on all the time. So that is really the first, like, no brainer thing, right? Least cost item. The second is, you leverage technology. You feel like you can't remember to switch it off. Use, like, you have sensors that will detect whether you enter the room or not. You have now things connected to Alexa, so you can schedule it to turn on, turn off when you leave. So you can leverage technology in case you're forgetful. You have smart thermostats. So there are two thermostats that I know that are there in the market here. I think Ecobee and Nest. So you can leverage both of those. So you can schedule. I think the payback for those thermostats is almost like, I mean, not during COVID times, obviously, because people are at home all the time. But like if you have a husband and wife working, and you can schedule that. I think the payback is almost like 3 4 months. You'll get your money back.
Yeah.
So that you can schedule so that you can set your temperature to a higher or a lower temperature, so and then the house uh, can heat up and cool when you come back. So that's something that you can do. Just increasing and decreasing the temperature. Like for example, a lot of people keep 73 degrees during the winter in their thermostats. They set it to 73 degrees during winter. The typical temperature should be 68, and you should wear you know sweaters, and you should dress according to the weather. So don't expect to have 40 degrees outside while you're in your tank top and shorts.
Yeah.
So that's not
Good
acceptable.
tip.
You should dress to the temperature. So you would
That's a good tip.
normally wear a
68
cardigan,
degrees.
sweater.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And likewise for cooling too, like 78 degrees, you turn on the fan if possible. If you have fans in your house,
Mm-hmm.
you prefer to turn those fans on. And then pay attention to all the equipment in your house, right? Whether you have Energy Star compliant um, equipment that has potential of saving lots of money for you. Leverage the power of the sun. So if you can dry your clothes outside,
Wow.
that's uh,
This takes back to the olden days.
exactly
Pretty
right.
much a lot of the activities that we did in our childhood, if we bring that back, that would save energy, I guess. So just
Exactly. So
drying.
there's this running joke in our industry about this woman in 1970s that called and asked for a solar powered dryer. Why do you need a solar powered dryer when you can actually just
Ah,
dry your clothes outside in the sun?
yeah.
So you don't have to complicate things too much.
Yeah, right.
You just keep it simple.
Yeah, very true. That's a good one, actually. I mean, the other humorous thing that comes to my mind is every day morning I wake up, the first person I talk to is not my husband, but to Alexa. I just talk to Alexa because everybody's running so fast in this world with the activities that we have. So we tend to forget Alexa is a person, as a personal assistant that will just turn on the light, or I even ask Alexa to remind me, turn off the cooker, the rice cooker or idli cooker or anything that is running. So
Right.
yeah, it's just become a personal assistant for everyone these days, and we can make use
So
of that. We can make use of that.
exactly,
Save
yeah,
energy.
exactly,
When you're going out, just turn
exactly.
off the light or thermostat, adjust according to your house. So that's a good discussion.
Yeah. And there are more there are other things that you can do, but these are really sort of the low hanging fruits that you can,
Very true.
tackle.
Very
Yeah.
true. So the next thing is this is a holiday season, and I wanted to talk about the Christmas tree decorations or wrapping up a gift or food that we use at home. What are some suggestions that you advise to go green with these things?
Absolutely. So there's a lovely story I read a couple of days ago. It was about Clinta Claus, the brother of Santa Claus, and
Mhm.
how he was sort of the green brother who was repurposing gifts. And so 1 month prior to Christmas, it is a made up legend. It's not true. It's just some storyteller made up this legend. And so 1 month before Christmas, you actually put away toys that you no longer want or use, and so Clinta Claus can come and take it away, and then tinker with it and make it into newer, make it new and give it off to other people who might want that for Christmas. So I think the power of giving, right? So if you can donate a used toy or buy toys from a thrift store, used toy, or you can exchange gifts. I know it sounds little idealistic, like, I mean, I don't know if my son would be too happy to do all these things, but just talking those things with them would be helpful. Again, for gift wrapping, I see a lot of good paper being torn. I love paper. Being an architect, I'm like grown up treasuring paper. In fact, I have papers that I've bought just to keep. I don't even want to use them because I love them. So
The
just
first
to
time
see
I'm hearing
people,
that. Interesting. I mean, it just comes from the trees, right? The more you tear, the more trees are cut. So,
exactly.
cycle.
So if you can use, like, those magazines that you keep getting in your mail, you can reuse them as wrapping paper, or you can use any other paper that you have at home that's, lying for kids, for example, if they've done artwork, you can use that paper as a wrapping paper. The only thing is to avoid glitter, because I think glitter is harmful. So you don't use glitter because obviously it has environmental impacts. As far as celebration is concerned, I think you can buy organic, and you can, if you can afford to buy organic, I think that's a good option. Um, Let me think. And then, yeah, and then giving experience gifts rather than plastic gifts. I think that's another thing. And I don't want to name the store here, but avoid cheap stuff, cheap plastic stuff. Just for the heck of giving, you just buy stuff which costs $1 or something, and it has no purpose. It's gone within like a day. So don't buy those kinds of gifts. Buy meaningful gifts that will last long. I think that's
That's a wonderful
these
thought.
are the things. Yeah.
Of course, cheap, by that we mean the ingredients that goes into that are harmful to the environment at the end of the day. So it's not that we go for expensive gifts, but it's that the ingredients that does contribute, right, to the,
Yeah, and cheap labor too. So somebody has made it for really low price, like their own labor has been really so. Let's not try and encourage that unless it's absolutely necessary. So
very true.
I think I would, yeah, urge people to do that.
Sure. So, speaking of that, I also wanted to touch base on socializing and parties.
Uh-huh.
Now that we are not doing it much during the COVID,
Not much.
not much. It's all virtual and short, small gatherings here and there. But post COVID, when this resumes, what are the different ways to be responsible when organizing or attending a gathering, a party? What are some of the ideas?
So this is really why Green Cell was born, right? Like, I mean, this was one of the things, and this is also one of the reasons I joined Green Cell. I was ranting on forums about how we tend to abuse plastic, single-use plastic, and that's when one of the Green Cell members saw my rant and said, "This person seems to be." So there was some good use of my ranting, and they said, maybe you can put your words into action by joining our group. So the founders of Green Cell, Sandesh and Pankaj, they saw this happening at a party, and that sort of really impacted them, right? So I would categorize parties into three different types of parties. One is the small ones where you call two, three families to your home. Then you have the medium, like, you have some 10 to 12, 15 families. And then you have the really large events, large community gatherings, right? So for the first one, I would urge everybody to, have plates at your home that you can just use instead of using paper plates and plastic cutlery. Just use the ones that you have at home. The only thing is you'll have to wash them after that. There is some extra work, but you're chatting anyways. You can do that with a couple of friends. Obviously, if it's just two, three families, it's very intimate. So you should be able to do that. So I think um, avoiding single use plastic, cutleries, forks, spoons, using our steel or ceramic plates, and then spoons, and avoiding bottled water. A lot of people think, I think it's cool to have like bottled water even when you have two, three families at home. So instead, just using water either from your refrigerator, or just tap water which is filtered, or however you want to have that, just in your normal glasses. I think that's really something that people need to think about. When you get to the middle, the medium party, so we had Green Cell had a very successful program which we have sort of stopped right now because of the whole COVID situation. But we were loaning utensils for free, so that people, just use our utensils rather than use single-use plastic.
That's a great
And
idea, actually, but because some people don't know where to go exactly and get these things through. shops or online. But this is a good thing. If there's a one-stop shop where they can come and hire or rent items, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, and we made it free so that we want to incentivize more people to use it.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it was for free. We had pulled in money amongst ourselves and create. And there's no stopping why you couldn't do that with your set of friends. Like, you have a group of 10 friends you regularly meet. You meet for every festival or any celebration. So y'all can all pool in and buy a set of utensils that lives in somebody's house. We all have big houses anyway. So and then you can share it around, and that way you can split the load and take it home and wash it, or wash it in the same place together. So I think it is a little bit of effort. Again, that whole convenience versus what is the benefit of this little inconvenience that you're going to have. So that's the thing. Now
And
when you go into big, sorry, you were
no,
saying something.
yeah, I was just going to pause a little bit and congratulate on this initiative, because I really like this initiative of getting these items and renting it out to people. Many people, as I already mentioned, don't know where to go get these things, especially in the US. We've been doing this back in India in big wedding halls and places, gatherings, enormous number of stainless steel items, the
Right.
plates and tumblers that we have. But these days, even in India, it's changed to plastic bottles.
Plastic
And
bottles.
people have gone to the peak and now coming back slowly and thinking about what's going to happen to the earth. So,
Yeah.
good initiative.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And the third one is when you have these large events, it's really not possible to do. This model will not work, right? So for that, you would use like compostable plates, compostable spoons and cutlery are available. And when you buy them in bulk, when you buy them in that quantity, they are almost comparable to, your normal, uh, you know, your normal like spoons and forks. But I think a big factor here is bottled water.
Hmm.
So to make a single bottled water, 3 to 6 times of water goes into making that one bottled water.
Wow.
And then it takes around 450 years for that bottle to decompose.
Wow.
So,
My God.
and like you go to these events and you see people who've just drunk half the bottle and it's lying out there. And, it hurts me to say that 6 times of that water, so it's 3 bottles of water has gone into making it, and it's just lying there, half filled, and that plastic is again going to just lie in our environment, in a pile, in a landfill, and maybe someday even in our backyard, because obviously there's only so much land. So at some point that garbage is going to come into your backyard, I mean literally. So if we consume at that rate, then it's going to have a huge impact. I think it's just a understanding that what we use for literally like 30 seconds, without thinking, it just gets tossed into the bin. And so in these big events, I think trying to get people to use reusable water bottles, having water stations or water cans, so that instead of using, cups is bad, but it's less bad than say water bottles.
Mhm.
So doing those kinds of changes will really help, like composting. Like for example, with Vibha Dream Mile, we were able to help them and compost a lot of their banana peels. We switched to cans. We couldn't support the entire event, but a big proportion of that event was just with water cans and with cups, paper cups, instead of like those plastic bottles.
Wow.
So I think teaching our kids, that you just use that spoon for like 20 seconds. Don't trash it like without even thinking about it. Think for a second, after COVID and everything returns to normal, I would urge people to think about their actions a little bit more.
Wonderful. That's exactly the next question that I wanted to ask about recycling responsibility in children, in kids. How do we educate children today in going green? You just gave us a point about spoon that they use. What
Yeah.
other ideas that we can make them understand at this young age? Any other suggestions?
So Green Cell, we saw its gap, and this year, in fact, we had the opportunity to conduct our first ever summer camp, and We had around, it's a free camp, and we had around 200 kids that signed up for this camp. So it was just an hour and a half, 2 hours camp where there is an action based project. Whether it's a project or whether it's a campaign, they have to sign up for something. And we went through, each day we had a specific topic. Like one day was climate change, next was food waste, then was recycling, the fourth day was biodiversity, and the last day was what can I do, I'm just a kid. So that was the whole camp. But as far as recycling is concerned, I think kids learn a lot from what we do, right? And so it's just teaching them, or even educating the parents in the house, that you need to be mindful of how you um, react to things. Like for example, um, when sometimes in the parties you say, hey, don't trash that, that's valuable, or something like that, parents say, oh, don't worry about it, just so kids catch on to things like that. They see that, oh, my parents are not concerned about these resources, then I shouldn't be as well. So I think understanding that you're doing this for them, right? Like it's for their, how are they going to live? Are they going to live with a backyard full of trash? Is that how you want your kids to live? So I think uh, teaching them through your action.
Creative
So,
activities. Yeah.
exactly. So, and teaching to recycle right. And um, I think that is really important, because, it's just recycling for the heck of it, wishing everything gets recycled is not going to happen. So, educating yourself, educating your kids, making them understand the value of things. Like, for example, I mean, we all do this, like, don't waste food. And, but we don't really say, why don't waste food, right? So there's a lot of resources that has gone to get that food on your plate. So when you're trashing it, you're literally trashing all those resources that have gone behind it. So a lot of kids in the US have grown up in abundance. Like they have never seen anything, like they have everything they want and more.
Mhm.
So it's very hard for them to imagine hunger, or imagine food waste, or imagine, what is happening to the things that you trash, what is happening to the things that you recycle. So I think educating them, and because once they are educated, once they learn it, they are more excited than the adults.
Wonderful.
Um, yeah, and and teaching them what they can do without your intervention. They can refuse a straw in the restaurant. They can decide to carry their own cutlery,
Mhm.
so that they don't have to use plastic cutlery. So when you start doing that, they will imbibe that in their life as well. And you teach them that it's not uncool to be that way, it's in fact cool to be that way. So I think just getting those uh,
Day-to-day activities, and
day to day,
absolutely. That
yeah.
that's a wonderful
And
point that you just mentioned, because as you said, in US children have a lot more in abundance, whereas in some other countries there is a lot of hunger and poverty. Children don't get a meal, one meal a day. So saving energy and food especially, I think we'll get there. It's a slow process, but again we'll get there. So it's a
yeah,
good.
it's not all doom and gloom. It's not like, oh, we're all going to die now. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like that. But it's but it's about making steps in the right direction. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. I think what we know is we want our children to be in a healthy place
Absolutely.
where their basic rights of clean food, clean water, um, you know energy and electricity, and the day-to-day convenience is always there. So that,
Absolutely.
yeah, that means we need to make some tough sacrifices, and it
Yeah.
will be worth it in the end.
And yeah, the trees, I mean, you're sitting in a wonderful place. I can see that the outdoor is so cool to look at. The trees behind were
Yeah,
planted maybe by our ancestors. They've given us this nature to live with. So why spoil it? That's a good point. The more that we correct ourselves and teach our kids, we're passing on to the next generation.
yeah. And really, actually, it's about making them think, right? I mean, it's not even like you don't even have to teach them the right thing. You just make them think about, like for example, my backyard, it has a lot of worms, and it has all these beetles, and all these bugs and things like that. So you teach them to appreciate all that, so that they don't get eked out by all that. It's those little things. You have to make them fall in love with nature. So I think recycling and all that is an offshoot of the main thing, which is make them fall in love with nature. When they fall in love with nature, everything else will work out. Everything else they will find a way around it. So I think
Excellent,
that's,
excellent point. Actually, fall in love with nature. That's wonderful. That's a wonderful way to end. The last thing that I wanted to ask you is, how do people contact you if they would like to join this good initiative or volunteer for this? Is there a way? I know there is a Facebook page, Green Cell
yes,
ATL. So,
yeah.
how do people connect with you?
So I think the email is greencellatl@gmail.com. If I'm not wrong, I can give you the right email address so you can put it
Yeah,
down in your video.
description. Yeah, sure.
But I think we are pretty active on social media. So if they message us on Green Cell ATL Facebook page, I'm pretty sure within 24 hours they will get a response back. I will also give you my contact information in case somebody wants to join Green Cell, or if some of their kids, because we have an active kids group that is doing quite a bit, this year. In fact, we just completed our glass recycling in 12 neighborhoods.
That's good.
So just collecting glass for 2 weeks, and dropping it off at a neighboring recycling center. Simple things like that. So that's what we're doing. So that's the action part of it, right? We don't want them to only, in theory, learn about climate change. We want them to actually do something. So yeah, if you think that you or your kid is interested in something like this, then Green Cell might be the place for you.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's nice. And of course, these camps are really going to help, especially during their holidays. They don't know what to do. This is a good initiative. So it's wonderful. And I'll put the description in the description area,
Sure.
mark
Yeah.
where they can connect to you. Thank you so much, Ramya. And I'm so, so glad to have you in this year-end episode. That's a wonderful experience talking to you. Thank you so much and coming and educating us on Green Cell ATL.
Thank you so much for having me, and it is a pleasure to be here. And anything that we can do to spread this message, and so more people can hear and see and understand, I think we've kind of done our job then. So thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you, Ramya, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and wish you a wonderful New Year 2021. Hope everything is back to normal and let's go about doing our businesses normally.
Yes,
How we did.
absolutely. I've enjoyed not driving to work, so I've really enjoyed the whole COVID situation because of that.
Yeah. Let's stay
Uh,
positive and hope things are
yeah,
back to normal.
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you again, Ramya.
Thank you. Yeah, okay.